So I think we're going to be through this pretty quick. Hopefully people are not going to exhaust too much more of their energy on this idea that, you know, we just can't even discuss anything when some type of, psychological warfare essentially is used to just completely, shut down the ability to even talk or say anything about a certain thing, because it's just too sensitive. You create a this is straight out of the communist Marxist playbook, is that you create an enemy. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. All you need to do is simply create a completely contrived enemy, and then whoever you don't like, whoever is not going to step in line with your power structure, you just accuse them of that. So it's very sad to see that there's still a lot of people here within the New Zealand Parliament who are willing to push such a narrative purely for their own, to line their own pockets, to keep themselves in power. And that's essentially all this is about. It's about them staying in power. Because obviously, if you would do, thorough votes, thorough referendums, people are going to be in favor of less restrictions. People are going to be in favor of more freedom of speech. Clearly, the only way that anyone's going to cower to these type of rhetorical devices, is if they really, if they can't see any way for things to get better, or they can't see any practical way for themselves to make a difference anyway. So then they just think, oh well, okay, I'll just comply with this power structure, and at least they will that'll allow me to keep my job. I'll just comply with the vaccine mandate. I'll just take it. I'll just comply with this thing. So clearly, a lot of intelligence was gained, by this power structure, from all the COVID, lockdowns and stuff. Now they know that now it's clear, not they, but it's clear. Anyone who's observed, how it happened and what psychological component could be used to manipulate what kind of outcome, it's clear that if you just create a rhetorical device, then you can pretty much put that on anyone who challenges that power structure. But that's not how democracy is supposed to be. If it was real democracy, they would do, referendum after referendum after referendum to get, more and more, let more and more people have a say, open dialogue and open discourse about things. But no, they just want to shut it down, completely. So yeah, it feels like this is a pretty, it's a phase that I don't think it's going to drag out for too long. You know, we're gonna, I mean, you know, New Zealand is a very small country. You know, when it comes to certain things, but in particular, the ability of, you know, the people at the top of those power structures to maintain that type of narrative in New Zealand, it's very weak compared to the amount of power and influence that you know, that the US has, that Great Britain has. So yeah, from that point of view, you know, it's clear that within that power structure in New Zealand, you would, you know, you would feel incentivized to, you know, to just carry on with it, you know. But yeah. Hopefully people just think, okay, can't we just have a good, fair, you know, system, you know, have a better economy, have, you know, we got a relatively good healthcare system, but there needs to be more, you know, more dialogue, you know, and people need to be allowed to challenge the narratives, you know. If a group of people, if people want to challenge what the Greens saying, you should be able to challenge what the Greens saying. If the Greens want to challenge what these people are saying, you should be able to challenge this. But this way of just playing the victim like this, because that's all you're doing by using a rhetorical device. You're playing the victim. You know, if you were in a position of power, then why would you need to play the victim? Obviously, you know, you feel that your power is being threatened, so now your last card is to play the victim, you know. And yeah, that's all about you, you know. It's not about everyone as you're saying it is. That's a complete lie.